Hello, everybody. And then once again, it's Ready Chess, and I'm gonna be doing another stream of live games, but this time I'm gonna take things a little differently this time. Like instead of going for like a full hour of just playing games nonstop, I'll just instead this time I'll start to like go over each game, all by its. I'll start to go over each game, as in. No, as in what I mean by this is, no, after each game that I play, then no, I'll be able to give my analyzation on all the no, moves that I made, and I'll no, direct you on how you can learn from my mistakes also, and how I can also do the same thing. All right. Yeah, earlier it was just no, live like streaming just only for 1 hour straight, but now I just want to do it this simple and take things one step at a time. So let me start with my first game. Now I know it says how to beat a 2000, but we could say this is close enough. It's only 1991. So over here, he's playing a rare opening over here. It's called the Danish Gambit. It's usually when you play the F5, trying to like go aggressive to attack the center. But usually people respond by playing D3 just to play it safe. But the entire purpose of that move was to not allow two of white's pawns to stay on the center over here. Because the entire purpose of this Roy Lopez opening is to control the center. That's like the foremost reason you would play it. And for all these videos, I'm gonna shorten it a little because I know no one really is gonna sit through an hour. So I feel it's best to break it up into short clips so that's more fun that you can keep track. And I'll also create a playlist later for these videos. Just get it out of the way. And here I might have something. I might have a chance over here. Like if I move this knight here, I have a possible the fork over here, but I can't do that really. All right, so I know what I want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of that pesky bishop. So now I'll first now block this pin. Now probably hop in the knight to this square and force an exchange of some sort. And I have to do something about this bishop because I know this knight is gonna come here. And I'll move this bishop back because it's saying if I move like g4, for instance, then he could actually, sacrifice his knight. And if the pawn takes, for instance, then the bishop would take. I'll show all these. I'll show all this in the end when I actually analyze the game, so that you guys can keep track. All right, so now I have to go back to defend this, I guess. All right, let's see. Okay, he's going back again. Yeah, I'm in a very tight position here. I mean, I could force it. I could just go for a draw over here. But at some point, I need to go aggressive. I need to, figure something out so that this doesn't become a draw. Because the goal is to win, but if you're in a position where you're down, then I would suggest going for a draw. Now I'll try this knight move, threatening this fork over here, or force him to take. So he moved the knight there, threatening a fork over here. And the reason I'm playing this is because even if he does the fork, I still have this knight move over here. This knight fork over here on knight f7. And he's forced to take it because if he moves the king, then I have a checkmate in 3 moves. All right, so he noticed it and defended it, so I have to do the same thing. Somewhere right here. Now I feel like my situation here is compromised because my knight over here doesn't have enough really options to move, and he played the best move, which is knight, which is h6. So now the only square is knight f3, and now the knight can just take it, and now I have double pawns, and no, and so now my king side is completely destroyed right now. And at this point, I just have to defend all the way. I'm gonna try to get rid of this bishop over here. Just get rid of it, force an exchange, and then bring all my defenders here. And I want to keep this bishop because this bishop is guarding the central square that's supported by the pawn over here on f4. We're approaching 4 minutes right now, so it's gonna get tight. All right, so he's trying to threaten this over here, so I have to be watchful. Force exchange. And now I have to just cling on to this. I have to cling on to this pawn right here. At some point, I want to move this rook to h1 so that I can move this king to f1 and I'll be safe for now. Eventually, this rook on a will come into the action and try to work something out. And yeah, this is a good move over here. Because if I take, then I'm completely in trouble over here. I have to just move my king out of the way. And I'm kind of forced to take it. Because if I don't, then this queen will come here to f2. So I just have to make use of it right now. Now the question is, where do I move my king? I don't want to move it to likely this side. So I'll have to move it somewhere to the left. Alright, so now I'm forced to go here. Now he'll swing in the knight over here to like move my king away, and then this bishop will be lost. Well, eventually, I feel like this bishop is gonna be, it is gonna be lost because there he played it right there. So I'm forced to move over here, and then he'll likely take because I don't see like really any other area he can provide a check. I mean, this knight is only occupying this area over here. So I kind of think he has to take, and I'll exchange. I have to exchange, and then queen takes, and then I just defend this rook over here. And so essentially, it's kind of equal over here. Like it's a knight versus a rook, and in most cases the rook wins, unless there's like so many pawns that black has, which they do. They have they're up 2 extra pawns. All right, so now I have to be watchful here. This knight is threatening to like move somewhere around here to give a check. So I had to do my best over here to just to force an exchange right here of some sort. All right, looking at this, I think no, I think it's best to play it safe over here, in my opinion. I'll move it somewhere here. No, just to like stall, make him think because he's down to that amount of time. And in general, a game will last longer, like in an actual chess tournament. Want to possibly give a check here. It'll last long, so you shouldn't always it shouldn't always be like this. All right, now I also have to start thinking. I'm also down to a minute. It's an exchange. Takes. All right, now I'm in serious trouble right now. I had to defend both of those pawns over here. And so I got to come up with something quick. Oh. It's okay. I don't worry about that. Yeah, I'm gonna lose. Dang it. I had to win. But I mean, if you know it, like in the most case, and almost like 99% of the time, you're gonna win with this position. And like I said, in like a chess game, these only last for like two. A chess game, like if you're playing in a tournament, it's usually an hour or an hour and a half, so you'll have like plenty of time. But over here, we're down to 10 minutes, so it's really hard to do that. But apart from that, we'll just go through the game, one step by step, and see what we learned along the way. I'll go back to the critical moments that I noted over here. So these were all developing. All these were just to start developing. The the critical moment over here, I would say, was this move. Right here. After this knight takes. Right over here, this knight over here is trying to force the white's queen to move so that it removes a defender. It just takes the c2 pawn and it tries to attack, create a fork over here. But there's something called a counter attack, where I try to force another attack that black also has to consider, which is this knight fork over here to support supported with the queen. And let's say if black does take, and then I move my knight over here, and white and black cannot move this king over here because that will be a blunder. Let me show you. Saying if the black king moves here, I can give a check over here, a double check, and he's essentially forced to retreat back. And then if this knight wasn't here, let's say just ignore this knight over here, keep this out of play. I could have sacrificed this queen. This black rook would have to take, and then I would have a check on knight f7 over here. But over here, now going back to reality, there is a knight here, so I'm not able to do this check. But once again, I'm threatening this separate fork with this with this knight over here attacking this queen over here. So black is essentially forced to take it over here. And so with that, now let's go back to the actual game. And so now black notices this and moves to queen e7, and then I defend this pawn over here. And this is where this knight move was a little too risky to start with, because look at this pawn move and this knight squares. There's no open squares for this knight to move. So essentially, the only square I had to move is to f3, and I'm risking a double pawn over here. Takes. And then we have knight h5. We can see that the attacking position is starting to happen. And I want to get rid of this bishop over here because at some point I want to move this king out of harm's way over here when the queen comes on the king side. So I want to remove as much attackers as possible to preserve my position. So I'm threatening to remove this queen while also trying to attack this bishop. So the queen moves, takes, exchange. And then I move to king g2. Just trying to hold on to this. And here I would say this was kind of just an it's not a blunder per se, it's an inaccuracy. Because he doesn't see the following sequence. Like if I take and he gives a check, then I can see that I have like a whole runaway over here for this king to escape. And I don't want to go to this side over here because that would be a mistake. Saying if I move here, black can take, and if the king moves here, I have a queen check, and this is mate. Or if the king moves here, I have this thing and this check. No, so I cannot move there at all. I cannot move to the right side at all. So I had to move to king e3. And then the queen takes, and then I move once again. And then we have our rook check over here. And so now either piece works to defend with, but I chose the bishop just to like and move this queen over here. And so now I can see that I'm gonna lose this bishop over here because black has a good check over here. Forcing the defender out of the way is a common tactic people use. And so when you're doing this, you're essentially he's essentially forcing my king to go to the only square and leaving me with only one defender for this bishop. And so with that, the knights took, I exchange, and then I just slide my king to the corner, a protected corner over here, to protect this rook over here. And so essentially it's equal despite me being up by a rook versus a knight because black has actually more pawns than me. And in the endgame, this rook might be stuck just defending this, and this knight can easily maneuver each side of the board and distract my knight. So let's see how the rest of this game played out. And let me see where the critical moment was. I would say it was here. This was a huge blunder over here, trying to trade queens over here, because if I take, now I have a double pawn structure I can go after. And saying if this knight tries to defend or attack this pawn, I can defend this. And also over here was another blunder, compromising these central pawns over here, which I can easily take with the rook and still have time to defend this, leaving me with these two pawns to go up to promote. So essentially, I'm trying to push these pawns while also bringing my rook down over here. And over here, it's almost inevitable to stop over here, as I'm clearly up in material. The black is trying to push a pawn, but I still have this rook over here that I'll eventually sacrifice once I promote. And yeah, over here, this was essentially a win. I didn't care about that queen because I could promote. And yeah, essentially, I was supposed to win this right here. But some people get lucky because there's time. But whatever, these things happen in chess.com. You can't really control it. Well, that was a game. That was to show you, although that wasn't to show you how to beat the 2000 that I actually did. I can give you the tips based on this game to show you how to actually beat a 2000 player. Oh, I had a friend request over there. I'll come to that later. But the point is over here, looking at this, one of the first topics to look at is risky position, or not risky position. It's essentially like risk taking, which is, let me go back to the knight move over here, which was essentially trying to force a check out of this, but then leaving this knight unable to move anywhere except its original position over here, which resulted in the double pawn structure. And then another one was to not trade down when you're down in like a rook versus knight endgame, because black actually had a chance. He has two more pawns than me, and he could take this other pawn and he'd have like the 3 pawns more, which is enough to compensate and then you could possibly trade down this queen over here, and then this rook would be stuck. Oh, and then this rook would be stuck defending 3 pawns, and then this knight can easily move around this chessboard. So that's something to keep in mind. But until then, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And every day, I'm currently in India right now, so it's now 9:43 a.m. But somewhere around somewhere around the afternoon or the mornings, I'll be posting more games that I play, and I'll be continuing to guide people based on what they learned from my game and how I can learn from my game, because at the end of the day, we're all a chess community. We're all trying to improve. Well, that concludes the stream. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel on the bottom right corner, and yeah, I'll see you soon.